Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting for October 2017, the day before Halloween, Devil's Night, I suppose we call it. And today we are talking about payment adjustments. Mary Jo will take that topic, and better ways to find a matter in Tabs. I'll take that topic. Without further ado, I am going to press a series of magic buttons, not just a series of regular buttons, but a series of magic buttons, and get us back to a place where we are in Tabs, and Mary Jo can talk about payment adjustments.
Okay, so we have lots of different reasons why we may have to adjust payments. Sometimes we mistakenly enter the payment in Tabs and it was supposed to be a trust payment and we need to remove it out of Tabs, or maybe we mistakenly put the payment under the wrong matter or client and we have to get that changed. And then lastly, there might also be a time when it's an overpayment and we want to refund part of that money back to the client. So there's lots of different reasons we may have to adjust payments. And so those are the three we're going to focus on today. I'm beeping over here. I don't know what's going on. So we're going to go into a matter here. I have control here, but my screen is kind of very fuzzy. So we're going to go into mega construction, and we are going to find that matter. Maybe it's not that matter. Let's try another one. 415, we'll just do that. There we go. All right, so this is a matter that is an example of a credit balance. This one, they've overpaid, there's no more work going to be done, and we want to go ahead and refund this amount to the client. So to do that, the payment does have to have been included on a final statement. So if this payment were still down here in WIP, I could see it on the screen in Client Manager, I can't do this maintenance payment adjustment that I'm going to show you because it has to be included on a statement first. And you may have created a statement with the last amount due and then they paid, and the only thing sitting here in WIP is that payment only. And the reason that it's still here is because you didn't prepare another statement after with more work or whatever to show the client that you received that final payment. So what we would do first is we would go ahead and just generate a statement real quick. Doesn't have to be sent to the client, but it does need to have that payment included on it. And then we'd update that statement. That would remove it from the WIP column here, and it would just show up at the top as a credit balance.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. Why wouldn't you just change the payment in WIP?
Because you can't, if you've received a payment for the client and it's sitting here in WIP, that's money you received from the client. And if I change that payment, that's going to, if you're integrated in accounting, that's going to mess all of that up. And we can't just change the payment here and say that now it's zero. It doesn't refund it or it doesn't affect the account at all. We have to go through the right procedures here with actually adjusting it properly.
So this is why when you call in, you always make sure you talk to Mary Jo. Don't talk to me about these things.
You just don't do that. We don't just go change numbers in here that, oh, well, you know what, we have zero now. We can't change the payment amount. The payment amount is what came to us. That's what we received from the client. We want our client ledger to reflect that. We want that paper trail that we received that money. And if you have integrated accounting, we can't just go change that to a zero because we received that money. And chances are, by the time this is a credit balance and we're ready to refund it, we've already reconciled that payment in general ledger, and we don't want to mess with that. So to properly adjust this payment, what we're going to do is go up to into maintenance, and then transaction related. And there is a payment adjustment option underneath there. So again, that's maintenance, transaction related, and then payment adjustment. When I select that, this is asking me if I want to make a backup, and I'm in test data, I'm going to say no, but you could make a backup prior. And I'm going to go ahead and put in that client, and then I just need to find the reference number for this payment that I want to do. And I chose this one as an example because it actually has two payments that made up that credit balance. So this is a great example if you have more than one payment that's making up that total credit. This process will need to be repeated for both of these so that you can go ahead and refund the part of this payment and the part of this payment that is outstanding and that needs to be refunded. So it doesn't matter what order you do these in. It's not like undoing statements or anything. I have to do the newest first or any of that. This part, it doesn't matter. I can pick the largest one and then do the next one. It doesn't make any difference. So we'll pick this one. And then we have some choices down here. We have that we're going to refund or we're going to reverse. And in this case, we're refunding because we are going to be giving that money back to the client. And in this case, this was a credit card, so this is even another example that's kind of nice because if you're taking credit cards through the system, through Tabs3, you're using our ProPay credit card processing company, you can actually refund this directly back to their card. If you're not using the ProPay and this is still credit card, that's fine. You can still refund it and cut them a check. It doesn't matter. But that is a credit card, so that will be an option for you. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to choose refunded. And then you have the date that you want to have this be refunded to them. This could be today's date. You could go back and there's reasons that we might change that back to the original payment, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the amount that you want to adjust. And Paul, I'm going to ask you to help me on your screen because I can't read anything on here. If you can make sure that that is on refund. I can't.
It is.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. It will be. There
yes, if we can put that. Is that refund at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Mary Jo has a new computer.
I have a different computer here, and I can't read.
We didn't check the screen settings.
Yes, it's pretty nasty here. I can't read a thing. I see blur. Anyway, so on this one.
So when I tell you that Mary Jo can do this stuff blindfolded, this is what I'm talking about.
I can pretty much, but I'm like, I can't quite tell what I'm on here. So then we would put in how much of this unapplied amount that we want to refund. And in this case, we want to do the full amount. So we're just going to type in that full amount for this because we're going to be refunding the whole amount of this payment and the other part of payment. Okay? Then we are just going to say, okay. It's going to ask us if we want to go ahead and refund that payment. We're going to say yes. And then on this screen, there's a couple of other questions it's asking us. It's going to ask us if we are going to write a check for this refund. So if I'm going to go over to AP or somewhere, or I'm going to cut a check and back to the client, I'm going to say yes, I am going to write a check. If I'm not going to write a check for this client, for whatever reason, maybe I'm trying to think of a refund why I wouldn't write a check, but there could be reasons that maybe this was refunded a different way or whatever. Yeah, exactly. We would say no, we're not going to cut a check. And then we can simply record the refund, or we can actually move this, create another payment for another matter. We can move this and have some different options here. In this case, I'm going to say yes, I am going to write a check. And all of these things now, when I say yes, are grayed out. Because what happens when I write the check, that will make the other side of my entry to take it out of my bank account. Now, again, I'm talking about integrated accounting. If you're using general ledger and accounts payable with the Tabs module, that by saying yes, I'm saying don't make any journal entries over in general ledger. Don't do any of that because when I cut my check, I'm going to be crediting my bank account and I'm going to be debiting unapplied payments where this payment was sitting, and that's what's going to make that offsetting entry to take the money out of your bank account and to reduce that unallocated payment amount that was out there. So when we say yes, we're saying nope, don't worry about it, we'll make the journal entry. When we say no, then it's saying, okay, well, what do you want us to do with that? We may need to go over and make those manual journal entries ourselves at that point. So just be aware of that. Then we're just going to say okay. Then this screen pops up to ask us, do you want to show something? Basically, this is saying, do you want to show a description of why this was refunded on the next statement? Now, if this is a closed matter and I'm never going to send this client another statement again, I don't really need a description out there telling me that I reverse this payment, and I can just hit cancel and get out of here.
Now, I'm going to point out that it says write-off per in the description. That don't confuse that. This is not a write-off. That's just the language that we happen to have in this demo system for what we call a description-only transaction. So were you to use that, you would simply erase that and put refund to client or something like that.
And that was you can also have different transaction codes for these. So you could have another, description only transaction code that is for payment adjustments that would say refund or whatever, and just you would choose that. And again, whatever the first transaction code that you have set up that's a description transaction code is going to be the default. So just because write-off might be the only one we have in the test data, but if you had multiples, you may have to change that. So just be aware of that for the description. And that's only if you want something to appear on a future statement. And you can change whatever language that you want. If you don't want to have anything show, we just simply hit cancel and we get out and it will adjust the payment. I'm going to say okay on this one just so I can show you where that description will go. So, and then it's going to tell you that that payment has been adjusted. We'll say okay. Now, I do have to repeat this for the second one. So we do have a part of that one. So we'll just click on that. Again, we're going to do a refund. We'll leave it as today's date. And we're going to let, oops, I thought I changed that. Get over there. Refund.
There's no unapplied amount.
Do I not have any more? I can't read it. I thought we had two.
No, not unapplied.
Not on this one? Okay. I can't read it. I thought there was two on that one. So if we had another one, there was another part of the payment, we would do the same procedure and we would just do that again. So I'm going to go ahead and get out. There is a verification. I'm sorry, close that. But there is a verification. So if you want to print the payment adjustment verification list, you can do that. Now you'll notice that that still has a credit balance here. And something I've noticed whenever I do payment adjustments is when I come back down to the screen, it doesn't just automatically update that. I simply have to hit the refresh key right above there, and it will go ahead and it will clear it. Now you can see that it's 0. That's the only one that I can remember that doesn't automatically refresh. But if you just hit that, now they have a 0 balance. Now, if I look at the fee, underneath the fee, there's that description that I had, because I told it, here, put this right off per whatever that was, in here, so that if I do prepare another statement, this would be out there and it would show on the next statement. Now, if you accidentally forget, it's okay. You can just double click on it and you can go in and you can delete it later. So you can just hit the trash can, which I'm hoping I'm on it. I'm totally guessing here.
I'm going to have to look at that.
He's going to, before the next webinar, I have to be able to see what's going on. This is like looking at something with really bad glasses. I can't even tell you. So anyway, now that one is cleared out. Now I want to find another client, and I'm going to ask Paul to give me a hand on this one. In fact, we can do a plus or minus, Paul.
Tell me what you're looking for.
I'm looking for a payment that is I guess just a client. I guess it doesn't matter. Any client that has a payment.
Kelly White probably does. Let's look at her ledger.
Okay. So
hold on one
take
second.
a look at that one.
Ledger. Yeah. Doesn't like my printer either. Client ledger. Nope, she does not have any payments. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Let's go to...
So I will say while he's looking for that, overpayments are probably the most common ones that I see that we want to refund money. Now you might not have wanted to refund all of that money. I did in that instance because I did want a 0 balance and I was refunding the whole amount. But if I only wanted a partial amount, I could have just refunded the portion that I wanted to. So if there was $2,000 and I wanted to just refund $1,000, I could have just overwritten that amount and said $1,000. Okay. Now, another option that we have is, what if we have mistakenly entered the payment into Tabs and it was supposed to be in trust? It was never supposed to be entered into Tabs at all. It was not money that went into our operating account, but somebody put the payment in Tabs because they made a mistake for whatever reason. So that would be an instance where we would come in and, Paul, I could probably just use Mega Construction again.
It's 850. This one's fine too.
Okay. So if there's somebody that has a payment out there and we just never wanted it to be in the system to begin with, we can again go into maintenance, transaction related, and payment adjustment. I'm going to say no again to my backup this time. And 850? Mm-hmm. So when we come into this one, and nope, that was in WIP. So I'm going to just look at the 415 again because it doesn't matter if this payment was in WIP or not, I needed a billed payment. So I'm going to take a payment that we've already billed. And again, this does not have to be in any order. You might have found out later, oh wait, this was never supposed to be put in tabs. The client got credit. I will say be careful, because if they've gotten a statement that says that they've received the payment and it's lowered their balance, that's going to have to be a letter or call or something saying that we've had to adjust it because it was mistakenly entered. But we would just pick a payment that we want to reverse this time and get it out of the system. So we're not doing a refund at this point. We're going to do a reversal. And this is where I would go in and pick maybe the original date that this particular payment was entered. And then I would say, okay, because I want to go back to when it was entered and take it out. You may want to still leave it as today's date. That's up to you. Where it's going to post, though, is wherever you put that date of when you're doing the adjustment. So if this happened last week, you put the payment in, you realize it wasn't here, it actually was supposed to go into trust, you could come in here and you could do that. Now, if the money actually got deposited into the general ledger, okay, then we're going to have to move that money physically somehow to get it out of general ledger and put it over into trust. So that's another step. But if we just, entered it incorrectly, but the money actually got put into trust, this would be a thing that we could put that date, say okay, and again, we're going to go ahead and adjust that payment. And this time, I probably am not going to be writing them a check back because I'm not refunding it to them. So I would just say no, that I'm not going to write a check. And I think that's on there. And then I have some options here, and I'm going to let Paul read them in order because I know what they are, but I'm not sure which order it's in. So
the first is none, simply record the reversal. Second is create a payment for client blank. Third is deposit the reversal amount into client funds for client blank.
Okay, so the first one on this instance, this is a payment we misentered, so we would be just saying simply record this reversal. We don't want to make anything else. We're not moving it. We're not doing anything. We would go ahead and say okay. And that would be the end of that one. But while we have these options up on the screen, we do have the ability to go ahead and move this payment to another matter. Now, when we do it this way, this is the entire balance, okay? It's saying we're reversing it, but we would be moving this entire payment, the balance of that check that they wrote or whatever it was, to another client. We can't do partial. We can't say, oh, I'm just going to move half of it, or I'm just going to move part of it. This is going to move the entire payment to client whatever I put in here. And then the final option would be, this wasn't supposed to pay a bill. I don't want this to be showing up there. I just want to hold it in client funds. And again, that's usually for a credit balance. If you just want to put it in client funds instead of reversing it or refunding it to the client, you could put it in client funds to do that and hold it there for next time. So those are the options there that you have when you're going to reverse a payment. So we go ahead and say okay again. In this case, I am just simply reversing it completely. So Paul, I don't know what the date is on that.
11/17.
Yeah, we're just going to leave it as today's date and say okay. Again, I've got the option to record that little entry to show on a future bill. I'm just going to cancel it and not put that in. My payment is now adjusted. And this time when I come out, say no to that. It's not going to switch anything on here, but if I look at my ledger, and do we have our client ledger on here? Okay, if you can get that for me, and preview, then on here, we actually have the reversal, where it should be. Do we have the right client there? Is that still 850?
Yes, and you did 415, I'm sorry.
Yep, sorry. There we go. And so now go ahead, we'll get into the ledger, and now we should have a little notation in here for the reversal of the payment. And so we would be able to see the payment adjustment I did the first time, and then we would also be able to see that payment reversal. So everything will be recorded. You've got that paper trail, you've got the whole process documented so you know what's happening. And in most cases, I'm going to say probably 99% of them, it's going to go ahead and make the adjusting journal entries if you have the integrated accounting. Occasionally, you may have to go over and it will warn you and tell you that it was not able to do it. Different reasons, maybe that something was reconciled, maybe it was on a deposit slip. Even now, I think it can go into the deposit slip and fix things. But there may be times where you have to go and check it, but very rarely now. The system is pretty automated and it will go ahead and take care of those for you. Now, you're probably going to come up with several other scenarios because, of course, there's always something unique and something different. And I still have clients that call me every day that have a new situation that doesn't fit the mold here. And we have to go through and figure out the best way to go ahead and refund that or transfer it to another matter or whatever it is that we need. But those are the big three that you're going to see most of the time. And just as long as you make sure the payment has been included on a statement and that you have went up and done it through the payment adjustment module, you should be all set.
And Patty might have one of those unique situations because I believe she has a question or has somebody with a question.
I do. Mary Jo, for that example you just shown, Tina would like to know, could you just simply unbill and delete?
You could, but when we start getting into unupdating statements and unbilling it, that pulls money in and out on the journal entries, and it just and then you have to rebill. And sometimes these payments are 3 or 4 statements deep, and we don't want to go undo, 4 statements to get back and delete a payment. It's much easier and it's much faster, even if it's 1 statement, just to go in and do the payment adjustment than it is to undo and redo statements. I mean, you risk. I have people that have done that, but I mean, you risk the chance of misbilling the second time, or and we don't really want to delete it because it actually did come in. I mean, I guess it was a mistaken entry, but I still think we want that paper trail that, yeah, it got entered here.
You want to see just what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, we want to see the history.
Right.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be the best option. Yes, it would work, but I would probably do it a different way.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing that my topic is short because Mary Jo just kept droning on and on about this. And I do want to emphasize that we have seen the reason that you don't ask me or Leanne or Ken these questions. These questions are for Cindy and Mary Jo. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how to find a client. And you may be thinking, well, what do you mean how to find a client? We know how to find a client. If we simply go here and put in 415, we'll get to Mega Construction Company, or we can even type in Mega, okay, and have it find Mega, or we can type in Larson, and since I know that Larson has more than one matter, it takes me here and says, well, which matter, and I find a client that way. But what if you don't know the number, or you don't know the name, but you know maybe the name of the adverse party or something else that you can search for? So I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to hit delete and get that number that was already in there out of there, and you'll find out why in a second. And I'm going to hit this drop down, and I have a couple options here to help me find clients. Now, one is that I am in a view where I can simply start typing, 415, but I could have done that right in the thing. And I can type name search or click on name search, and you'll notice now I'm sorting in an ascending order by name search, and I can type Mega. But again, I could have done that right in there. But I can also sort by client name, and I can also sort by work description. So if I, for instance, was looking for Gilbert and Sons, and I didn't know if it was Gilbert Andrew, I could sort by work description, knowing that the work description starts with Gilbert, and it would take me right to Gilbert. Now, the problem was that if I was looking for something like Builder Corp, I'm not going to be able to type Builder Corp just because I've sorted by work description, because when I sort by a column and start to type, it assumes I'm starting to type from the very left of what I'm looking for. So in order to find Builder Corp, I'd have to know that I had to first type corporate space merger space dash space mega builders space and then Builder Corp, and nobody knows that. So that's where this button down here comes in, that a lot of people really have never ever noticed and have never paid any attention to. And by hitting the filter button, I get to a point where I can now type Builder Corp. In fact, I think just type Builder, and there it is. So by using the filter button, I'm able to get into a situation where I can type something that I don't even know if it's in there, but I certainly don't know if it's what starts a line, like work description. So I can just type Purdue. Do we have anything that has Purdue in it? Wait for it. Yes, 3 of them. I want to explain what's happening here when I type Purdue. You see the yellow waiting, the red searching, and the green ready. Yellow means, hey, I'm about to search, but I'm waiting for the computer to let me do it. Red means I am searching, and it may take a minute. It didn't there, but it may if I'm searching thousands of matters. I'm not. This is test data, so we only have a couple dozen in here. And then the green means ready. So be careful. People come in here, they type something, they get a couple results, they don't realize that it's still searching, and they immediately exit out and say, oh, it didn't find it. Wait till you get the green. Now, another thing that can make it helpful in here is that just plain coming in here and saying, don't show inactive and only show recent, that's going to be recent specific to me on this workstation. These are the matters that I have pulled up recently. Right there, that can be a big help because, oh yeah, that's it. I forgot it was Kelly White, and yeah, it's the divorce. I forgot it was Kelly White. I thought it was Samantha Smith. But yeah, it's Kelly White's divorce I'm working on. I can tell that because it's in my recent list, and now it rings a bell, and now I know what I'm talking about. The other thing to remember is that even if you're not looking at recent, it's always a good idea to not show the inactives, okay? There may be unique situations where you're looking for an inactive client, probably not to enter time, but maybe to pull up the client itself or pull up the client manager or whatever, maybe print a client ledger report for that client, and you want to show the inactive. One more thing to be aware of. If you type in Larson, and well, that's not a good example. If you type in Mega, and you're like, oh, no, that's not it. And then you leave that 415 in here, come in here and say filter. See this right here? It's only going to search 415, okay? So you don't want to come into the filter section having left a number in here. That will cause problems for you. So if you know that you're looking for a client and you know you're hitting this drop down because you're going to go in and do some deep searching, you're going to do some filtering, be sure to get rid of that number before you click this to come in here, because otherwise your filter will already be restricted to a certain current client. You'll see now it's grayed out, and now it doesn't make any difference that there wasn't anything in there, so there's nothing already hindering your search. And that's mine. Mine was easy, but it's stuff that people, I can't tell you how many desktops I'll visit, and people they've never seen this. They've never seen this filter, and it can be extremely helpful, this filter, in finding things like my example of Builder Corp. And that's that. And so you're probably on the edge of your seats going, well, that was so exciting. What would they possibly talk about next month? I'll tell you. Mary Jo's going to talk about aging periods and their definition, both in accounts payable and tabs. And I am going to talk about budgeting within tabs, okay? It's there. A lot of people don't know about that either. I get all the topics people don't know about. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a virtual user group meeting if I didn't take you to attorneycomputersystems.com, and I didn't emphasize it very well, so I'll say it again, attorneycomputersystems.com, because if you leave off that last S in the word systems, you will go someplace else. I go to the people page when I come here, so you get to see what me and Mary Jo look like. But what I'm really after is this videos link. If you click this, or just hover over it, I'm going to click it, you will get a list of all the video titles that we have. And if you click the word, you actually get to something that briefly describes them. We have 4 recorded live events every month, and we have 2 non-live events that we record videos for every month. I'll start with those. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series. She records 3 of these a month, 1 on Tabs, 1 on Practice Master, 1 on World Docs. These are short 2 or 3 minute videos that take something really cool that we think we can explain very quickly, that we think people may not know about, and puts it out there. We have our longer format Paul and Mary Jo show, where I or Mary Jo will take a topic each month, and it could be from either of the programs, World Docs, Tabs, or Practice Master. And we delve a little deeper. These sometimes last 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes, and they get deep into a more broad topic, explaining in more detail something that can't be explained in 2 or 3 minutes. And then, of course, we have our live events. You're currently at our Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. We also have those meetings for World Docs and for Practice Master. They are on the same day. Practice Master is at 2, World Docs is at 3. But if you forget or you weren't available, you can always come back here and look at them. Our Coffee Pot webinars also, by the way, I give these each month, and they are more of a, let's look at something that adds on functionality to one of those three programs. So we'll look at products from, either from us, add-on products from us, or from some other third-party manufacturer that enhance the value of Tabs, Practice Master, or World Docs. And if you click on more info, we'll go into the one we're in right now, Tabs3's virtual user group meeting. You will find a description of that title. You will find information, at least for the live events, on the next one, and 2 links to register. They're both the same link. It's just some people don't like to click on something without knowing what they're clicking on, so that's what that is. A description of what we're going to cover, and then as you scroll down, you'll find recorded versions of everything we've ever done. Now, you're currently watching this one, so it is currently in post-production. Heck, it's not even there yet. It won't be there until we turn off the recording and send it off to Brad. But as you scroll down past that one, you will find recorded versions of everything we've ever done. So there are literally hundreds of Tabs virtual user group meetings, hundreds of World Docs, hundreds of Practice Master, hundreds of Coffee Pot webinars. We have close to 1,000 videos on our site, and it grows every month. So please take advantage of them. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're there for you. They're free. They're very informative. They're very all-encompassing. So come here and browse around and search to your heart's content. And until then, well, no, you do that until next month when we will see you again. Everybody have a good Halloween, good rest of the month, and we will see you in November. Thanks much. Bye-bye.